Welcome back to the Panther Soccer Podcast, episode 7, the Maia, and I apologize if I pronounce this wrong, Alveto episode. Unfortunately, Maia has been injured for most of her time at UNI, but from what we've seen from her playing in the spring, she is just an outstanding player and an outstanding midfielder. And honestly, I hope she recovers well, and I hope she plays this coming fall because she will make an impact on the field, especially for her senior year. She's been injured for the past 3 years. That sucks. I hope that she just has an outstanding senior season and is able to play. But enough talking about Maia. We have a very special guest this week. His name is Dylan Chambers. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. Yes,
He
sir.
is the president of the Southern Illinois University Dog Pound. And Dylan, just introduce yourself.
Pleasure, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, like you said, my name is Dylan. I am an SIU student here in Carbondale. This is my senior year, last ride. Like I'm ready to, kind of go to, different pastures. But yeah, and I'm also our vice president for student affairs for our student government as well, and also city council in Metropolis. So I wear a lot of hats, but the dog pound is kind of where it's gotten a lot of that stuff. So yeah.
I love how you called it your last ride. So you want to tell your story of how we met? Because I think it's actually kind of a funny story.
It is funny. It is funny. But yeah, like you said, I mean, with the last ride right now, that's just kind of what I'm calling it. So I made a post the other day and was like last ride. It's kind of stuck now. So but yeah, we met. The way we met was really kind of funny. Like I'm laying in bed on a Sunday, I think it was, and getting ready for to go to a nice soccer game, and I hadn't checked any of our social media yet, and here we go. Got a couple people in a car coming from UNI all the way down to Carbondale. I mean, I was blown away, and I'm seeing like this Instagram stuff. Like, man, what is going on? And then I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they are in Carbondale. So then I'm calling everybody, like, hey, we need to get to this game. They just brought students with them from UNI, and I am like blown. So, but the interaction that we had, prior and, going to it is what, kind of really brought it to light. And I wanted to make sure that, to go by to you guys and say, thank you for coming. Because, I mean, that's something that we haven't seen in Carbondale. I mean, from my 4 years of being here now, I've never known of another team or another, fan group or anything like that to travel, especially to travel to Carbondale, because nobody wants to come to Carbondale to even play. So, yeah.
Wait, so even for any other sports like football, basketball, no one else showed up at all?
I've from the time I've been around and from the time my advisor's been around, I don't know if we've ever known of another like fan group to for one to show up for a soccer game, for two to do to really show up to anything. Like a sole fan group, like the you and I, you got the Prowlers, right?
Panther Soccer
Yeah,
Prowlers. Yep.
the Prowlers. Yeah, I mean, for you guys to just get in the car and go, like from you and I, like it's just that's what kind of really kind of blew me. But yeah, so I think that's the first time that it's happened, at least since I've been here. So kind of exciting.
Hey, first time for everything. And honestly, it was a great trip. I felt like besides some of the SIU parents, I felt like we were treated very well. And you guys had a really nice campus. So it was a cool area. And seeing your guys' football stadium, because I've seen pictures online, I've always thought it was really unique for FCS. And yeah, no, it was cool. And it was nice for an away soccer game to actually have a home student section.
Right.
Because Indiana State, the what are they called? The Forest, they didn't show up at all. And I'm like, dang, come on now. This sucks. So it's
Yeah.
fun to have another student section to heckle with during the game. And it was a lot of fun. And it was a great
Yeah.
game too. You and I
Oh yeah.
showed up, and because you guys were third in the conference at the time, I believe. So going into it, we're like, oh no, maybe we shouldn't have made this trip. But to come out of there with a tie and having Brittany Bentheimer, our backup goalkeeper, play really well, it was really fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll take a tie than I would take a loss, you know. So, but yeah, no, it was really cool to kind of get that, and it's fun when you can go and then heckle with somebody else. You know, like we've went to a couple areas and stuff, and kind of had that same situation and things. So, um, yeah, so I give a lot of credit to you guys, and we still talk about it here. It's like we kind of look back. It's like, man, remember when they just like these random people just showed up for a UNI game? I'm like, yeah, I do, because that was really cool because we haven't had something like that. So I'm always up for a good challenge. So really cool.
That was a lot of fun. So you mentioned that you've gone to other away games. So like, so last year for football, you guys went to two, correct?
We um, we went to Northwestern
Yep.
uh, during the time for us to play them, which was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever been on. And it was, I think that was the only. I think we went to one football, but then we've been to some basketball ones already. We've been, a couple times to some different areas, but I believe for football we've been. I think we've only went to Northwestern because it can get kind of expensive. So um,
Yeah,
yeah,
we found that out.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that was the nice thing about you and I. Like we apply for your guys' game specifically, like Spencer looked into it and he found a way to like apply for gas money. And I'm like, we're not gonna get accepted. We're going to a women's soccer game. They're gonna think we're crazy. I show up to the meeting and they're like, yeah, here's X amount of dollars since you're traveling X amount of miles. And I'm looking at, I'm like, I'm driving my fiance's Prius. Are you kidding? Like, it's gonna only cost me $25 both ways. Why are you giving
right,
me? I'm not gonna say the amount, but it was way too much. Like, it
yeah.
covered my gas, my food, and the gas money that I paid for the previous trip we made to Indiana State. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay, so you still had some money to work with.
that and I had a plenty left over to make the documentary. So
Oh, cool stuff. That's
so,
awesome.
so it all worked out. So talking about basketball then, so you guys went to St. Louis for an away game?
Yeah, yeah. That was yeah. It wasn't. I mean, we fought. The basketball team fought. But we were loud for a while. I don't know if there's somewhere where that game is at, um, but yeah, going to SLU was pretty interesting. That was kind of the first time for me, and the first time for a lot of people too. So being able to kind of go in there and kind of have some fun with that was pretty cool.
That's awesome to hear. I guess we should probably rewind a bit, go back to the
All right.
script. So how did you become the president of the Dog Pound? Like, what sparked the interest to like, hey, I should do this, or like, how did you join the Dog Pound? Just tell your story of the Dog Pound.
Okay. So it's a pretty interesting story on how it kind of got started. So let's think back a couple years where we're like um, in the middle of the pandemic, kind of getting out of that. I was a freshman in 2020, so kind of that was it. So then, let's flip to sophomore year. I became an RA. The chancellor decides to stop in during the RA dinner or something like that, and kind of do a little talk and things, just to kind of like a small meet and greet. He gets to talking, and he's talking about needing to up our student section, and I'm like, oh well, I ran my student section in high school. This sounds kind of interesting. And he's like, we need somebody to do it. We need somebody, and I'm not leaving until we find somebody. And then everybody's just like looking around, and I'm like, I'll do it. And I raised my hand and said that I'll help, whatever. And I kind of nominated, the a whole like our whole thing. I had no idea what I was about to get into and didn't know it was like a one person thing. So um kind of looking back, it was kind of silly of me to kind of just nominate everybody to do it. But I was like, shoot, if somebody's gonna do it, we're gonna do it. So I basically nominated myself, and because it was kind of on a decrease. So um not to kind of get on that, but so I got asked to do it. He emailed me with the previous advisor, and we kind of sat down and got connected. And I talked a little bit about, kind of some ideas that I had and stuff. So I got started, or how I got started was being an RA and getting basically kind of pushed into doing something. Um, so I found a little niche, and took it and ran. So I did my first year and a half alone. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
yep,
Wow. That's impressive. That's awesome to hear. And I think being an RA must have maybe helped with that because you're surrounded by students all the time. And like as an RA, your residents kind of look up to you, depending on like if it's a freshman dorm or whatever. And like residents like look up to you. So like if you tell them to do something, participate in something, usually they'll do it. And
oh
yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah.
It was, like, hey, we're going to this game. I hope everybody knows, like we're about to roll out. Like, let's go. And we got, like we just went to the games, and like I said, I had no idea what I was getting into, but I did a lot of research of how to kind of grow that. So it's getting there, but yeah, so it's come a long way.
I mean, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you guys were in the top 20 at one point in the nation for basketball student sections. Like,
Yes, yeah.
so leaning on that, like, how does the dog pound stand out amongst the MVC? Like, what makes you guys stand out from the MVC? Because you guys are easily the best student section for basketball. I would say top three for football because it's kind of hard to compete with North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Oh Lord, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Anyways, like what makes you guys stand out? Like what are you guys doing differently?
um, I think it's just the way we kind of like connect with the student body a little bit, and we try to like find ways to do that student to student athlete perspective a little bit more, kind of connecting those in that kind of area to where it's like, hey, I'm going to this game because I want to watch my friend play, and kind of those simple things. But then we really hit like new student orientation really, really hard, with making sure they're joining. We will attend, like we'll speak at the pep rally that we have at the beginning of the year, because we have these long traditions of what happens on the first weekend, um, Thursday to Sunday. I mean, there's a lot of events and stuff that go on, just to kind of keep them engaged with making a nice experience out of them when they first get here. So um, in that aspect, I think it's what makes us a little different, or kind of like what's different about those groups. Not saying that there's not other schools that do that, but that's just kind of how we've done it so far. And we've kind of found that that's really what's worked the best. But yeah, I think, but then also looking at like, we average we average pretty well with our game attendance too. Getting them to the game is the hardest part, but then also getting them to the game, but then keeping them engaged or where they don't leave after halftime or etc. is also another issue too. But that's an issue globally. Like everybody,
Yep.
when 9 o'clock hits, it's like, all right, let's roll. And then everybody leaves. Or if it start times at 2 o'clock, then it's it kind of just depends on um, what is kind of going on that day, or what day of the week it falls on too.
That's that's very well said. Yeah, because UNI has a massive problem with keeping students at the games because by the time the marching band gets off the field for halftime, half the student section is just gone. And if
Mm-hmm.
we're winning big or if we're losing big, then another half gets cut down and there's maybe like 30 students left. And besides besides our game against South Dakota State this past year, because we only lost by 3 to them and they were number one in the nation at the time.
Yep.
So I mean, obviously, like, hey, you have a chance to see the UNI beat the best team in the nation, but fell short, unfortunately. Fell short.
It happens.
Yeah, exactly. So do you compare your student section to any other student sections across the nation, or like how where do you see yourself or the dog pound amongst other student sections across the MVC?
In the Valley,
Yeah.
I in the Valley, I would say we're top.
Okay.
But that's just, I don't know if it's just me sounding biased, but in the Valley, I think um, we're, I mean, I would say we're at least in the top five. You know, like
Oh,
it would
easily.
be,
Oh, easily.
like we tier it. We tier it. We've got three tiers of, you know, kind of just how it goes, and because we try to rank it ourselves just to kind of see about where we're at. Even though it's just a group of us, kind of just, you know, of course we would say we're first, but a lot of people would say they're first too, you know. So um,
You know, they're just wrong.
right, yeah, it's like, you know, not to say that, but you know, that's just you know, uh, but yeah, I mean, like we would rank you and I second. That's got kind of where we're at just historically.
Okay. Okay.
Historically,
Yep.
you know,
I
if you
can live
think
with that.
about it, like if you really kind of dig into the historic part of it, you and I would be ranked second. I mean, if you look back at the way the Dog Pound was whenever College Game Day was here back in '07, you know, like you would say, okay, that's pretty top. You know, like whenever you beat Creighton in Carbondale, that's where, you know, like that's separate things. But I mean, Creighton's our rival long term, you know, but since they've left, it's kind of changed now. But
I'm so glad they
yeah,
left.
yeah, we hate Creighton. You
Them
know,
and
like,
Loyola. I'm so glad Loyola
yeah,
is out of the
I'm
conference
glad we
now.
lost them too. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think anybody's hurt by them. So
Did you see they finished last in their conference?
yes, yes, I did, and I knew it was going to happen. Like, you know, you come in here and you try to dominate the whole time, and then you just end up dead last. That's great.
Yeah, it warmed my heart, but it also like it was a mutual thing because like part of me was like, oh yes, in your face, you guys finished last this season, so you guys left us. But at the same time, it's like, wait, that makes us look bad because they finished last in a bigger conference, and just shows how low on the mid-major scale we are. But
Well, at least we're not like the Ohio Valley, and it's just, you
yep,
know, where Murray kind of just dominated for, you know, the amount of time that they did, and now it's going to be SEMO. That's just going to, you know, pity on everybody else. But yeah,
speaking of Murray State, did you guys travel there for an away game?
for a women's basketball game, we did. Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome.
and it was a lot of fun. I mean, we kind of, the way they do their tickets there, it's like for the women's basketball games, it's kind of just sit wherever you want.
Yeah.
And, you know, like they just give you a ticket and we're like, okay, well, we're going to go right behind our own bench. And then we're just going to be as loud as possible. And we had a really good time. I mean, a really good like turnout with the bus and all that stuff. So, yeah, that was a cool experience to go to that too. I mean, that's something that we strive on, is making sure that um, the other sports, instead of football and basketball, kind of get the same support. That was something that whenever I first started, that I wanted to make sure we hit those really hard, with attending volleyball games, soccer games. You know, like I mean, the all that. So like being able to hit that, I think was really is really cool too, just because of having that support system for the other sports, means a lot. So, and I know it means a lot to them.
Oh, 100%. You know darn well those women basketball players were just absolutely loving it because, yeah, it's yeah. Like I've talked about in a past podcast with the student from Iowa State because he's a huge women's basketball fan. He's always
Yep.
front row for those games, and he was like, he doesn't understand why people hate on women's basketball because, like, and I agree with him. I don't. Granted, I'm not a big basketball fan. Like, I like watching them, but I
Yeah.
don't really see the difference between men's and women's. Like, I
Right.
don't.
No, I mean, no.
Besides,
I
yeah.
mean, it's really, you know, those games can be really fun. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
like, and you have like a lot of like more room to like be really loud and really impactful for the game. Especially whenever you play Illinois State like that. Those games like here in Carbondale are pretty chippy, like all game. And I enjoy them. I mean, because it makes it fun. It makes it, you know, really like it makes it, you know, really memorable and stuff too. So kind of being able to kind of be around that, and um, you know, kind of get to enjoy that environment. But then also when you think about the way that environment is, it's kind of, it's sad, you know, and I hate that, you know, like you would think that a lot of those areas and a lot of those teams and stuff would get the same support. Like even like there were times that we had a doubleheader one time, and it was, I think we played maybe Bradley. Men's basketball played Bradley first. It was, I forget, maybe 2 o'clock, and then women's basketball, like flipped right to the next game, like within an hour apart, or 2 hours apart. And I'm like, man, like where's everybody at? Like you get like basically your ticket for that game was you could also use that ticket for the women's game, and basically like you were getting in for free. Like just stay. And I mean the attendance was fairly well for one of those games, but it just just stinks where it's like, man, I wish y'all would just kind of stick around. I mean they're a good team,
Yep.
And there's a lot of good teams and stuff too. So it kind of stinks, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I don't know. It's just because like I remember talking about it. When you and I played Iowa State for women's basketball, it was our highest attended women's game of the year, which makes sense. Ames is only an hour and a half away. But what drove me insane was the students that drove down from Iowa State were much louder than the students in the UNI student section.
Mm.
There's like maybe 20 students like scattered standing. It was pathetic. I don't know, but it's just embarrassing. Also, I could be way off on this. I think I saw a vlog somewhere of this, but didn't you guys go to March Madness?
Uh, March Madness. That
Or
was
not March, or Arch Madness. Arch
March
Madness. Like,
Madness. Yes. If it's March, I think they went like whenever we were in the Elite Eight,
yep.
Back in 4 or 5, 6, 7, one of those.
You guys were good at one point. Let's go.
Whichever one of those between the 2000 and 2007 era, like that, we were in there a couple times, but yeah, no, we go to Arch Madness. We've went the past 2 years actually. We've been. It was aggravating our first game, or the first time we went. Whenever we got there, we played on Friday and went straight back home. And then and then flipped to this past year. We went, beat Missouri State. Great game, and then flipped, lost to Drake again. I mean, literally the same score, just on a different day. Like it just sucked. We start off fine, just fell, but. Yeah. So we've went for the past 2 years.
Yeah, no, because I remember I follow the Dog Pound on the Prowler account, but yeah, I saw that you guys were there, so I tried to look for you guys while I was down there because I'm in the UNI pep band as well. So I try to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I try to like go out of my way to look for you guys, but our schedules didn't really align, so it was hard, but.
Yeah.
No, Arch Madness, there's something about it. Like, even though some of those games can be kind of empty, like there's just something about them where even the worst team in the conference can beat the best team. Because that's happened to you and I before, where we were the number 1 seed. We played, I think Drake was the 8th seed at the time. This was before I started at UNI, and we ended up losing in the first day that UNI played. And it's like, dang, like that shows. I love how competitive our conference is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this past year, yeah, Evansville is pretty bad, but other than that, like, you don't know what's going to happen game by game.
No, the Valley run deep,
Yes, I love that phrase.
Yeah.
The Valley runs deep, but your ankles are weak. Oh, no. Oh, man. So, what are your favorite memories revolving around the Dog Pound? Just top of your head.
So, I would say one would be, kind of back on the women's basketball topic, but it would be whenever Mackenzie Sylvie broke the all-time leading score record. And we did like this little countdown on a whiteboard. We printed off it, or we had posters and stuff made. And we were kind of just counting down the points every time, so every time she scored in that last game, right before she hit it, she had to get 21 points that game. And we were like, oh yeah, no problem. And literally got exactly 21 points. And when she broke it, I was like, oh my gosh, it was so exciting. Like, it was one of the best things to ever see. But then whenever we broke the whenever we did the 2000 attendance for the first men's basketball game too. I think it's one of my favorite ones because we did it as a promo. We were like, the goal was to sell out the game. We were wanted to sell out the home opener. And we're like, so me and our head coach sat down. And I was like, yeah, I'll get you 2,000 students, and then you just cover the rest. Like however you got to do it. So we made a bet, and I was like, I'll get 2,000, and so I texted the chancellor. I'm like, hey, what do you think we could do if we did? I said, if I got 2,000 students to a game, do you think we could do like a free tuition raffle or something? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And so I was like, all right, bet, we'll do it. So we were like, yeah, let's do t-shirts, towels, we'll do pizza, whatever. Like we budgeted, a lot for it. We wanted to make sure we were going to go all out for this first game. And we exceeded that, like we ended up doing that, and we got it. And then we ended up doing a raffle, and somebody won free tuition that night. So, and yeah, it was like our section holds 900 students. So, or 900 seats. So it seats 900. So that was that plus like the top up there in the top. And then, you got to count band, cheer, everybody. So like whenever I got the text, and I was like, yeah, somebody's winning free tuition tonight. So yeah, we did it, and it was so much fun. That was one of my best experiences. That was the first time we got to do confetti that game too. So kind of hitting that, and then yeah. So I know you guys were talking about it in the last podcast, so it was I loved it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, because I just got a notification on the computer that we're running out of time, but no worries. We're wrapping things up anyways. Yeah, no, like, so there's 900 seats, 2,000. Where did you put 1,100 students?
It was, so basically we ended up, so like I said, we had them. So there's a section here, and it's got two sections at the top, like kind of just like in the upper bowl. Okay. So we filled the upper bowl, and then a lot of them ended up going to the other section on the opposite side too. So okay. Yeah, so then it was just kind of the way they did it, because I just told them, I said, we're getting 2,000, we're gonna hit it. I don't care what anybody says. So, but then a lot of them, I mean, it got pretty cram packed in there too. So, so we ended up, yeah, just kind of figuring it out as we went. It was a good thing to kind of worry about, honestly. So, yeah, that's
fair. Well, since we are the Panther Soccer podcast, we got to go back to soccer.
Yeah, let's get back to soccer.
I just got to ask, where did the King Tut's Army name come from? Because that is sick. I love it. Do you know the history of that at all? Or
yeah, I do, because it was my idea. So I wanted to do these branches of like, okay, you got the Dawg Pound. It's basically like how U of I does theirs. Like they got Orange Crush, and then they've got Spike Squad and all these other ones. So I'm like, okay, we need a unique name, for each one of our things. Like we have for volleyball, we've got Davies Crazies, because they play in Davies Arena and stuff, or Davies Auditorium. So the soccer, we're like, okay, soccer needs a name. So I kind of dug around for a long time, and soccer is kind of like a, not to say like an Egyptian thing, but something like that. So our first mascot, live mascot, one of the very first Saluki dog that we had here was named King Tut. So, and his, like, he's got a memorial. It's a pyramid. Supposedly it's where he was buried and stuff. So, I was driving. I think I was by the stadium one day, and I saw the pyramid, and I'm like, King Tut. And so then I'm like, okay, how can we like name it after King Tut? So then I forget how we came up with King Tut's Army, but it was like, it just kind of had a ring to it. So, so yeah, it just basically it ties into soccer, but then also ties into us a little bit, because our first live mascot was named King Tut.
That's really creative. That's a lot more creative than ours. I love that.
So how did you come up with yours? Like, I want to know, like, kind of how did that start?
So me, Spencer, and another admin, his name was Nathan. We were sitting up because Spencer was also an RA. Love that connection between you two. So we're sitting up, and like one of the lounges, and we were like, all right, we're set on an Instagram. We like have an idea of like how we're gonna like get money for this. We just need a name. And we literally sat up there for like 2 hours. I'm not joking. Like we had the office running on the background and like we were just trying to think of something. And
Yeah.
I wanted to more lean towards like something ultras, like the Panther ultras or something, because like that's very common in European soccer or football, my bad. European football and stuff like that. And I don't know, just out of the blue, Spencer comes up with like, I really want to do something like PSP. And I'm thinking like PSP, that makes no sense. He's like, I want another P word in there, like Panther soccer blank. And then we start like Google searching like random like fiery like aggressive P words, I guess. And Prowler came up, and I'm like, that would be perfect because we're the Panthers. We prowl on our opponents.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of how that came about.
Yep.
It was so funny. That was a fun day. Way too much time wasted, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Um
hey, whenever you're, trying to think about evolution, I mean, that's just kind of the, the way to do it.
no, I love that. But oh my gosh. We might have to do a part two at a later date because this is way
Yeah.
too much fun.
Yeah, no,
Um
I've enjoyed it, man. I've told my chief operations, I'm like, Tyler, we need to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast so bad. So I think probably after I graduate that it might be something that I get into just to kind of do it a little bit. But I don't know. We have so many different like areas on campus that do basically talk about the same stuff. So um, I just hate to like add on another one for somebody else to watch too. But I just think it would be a whole lot cooler to do. But yeah, but I'm for sure down for a part two. Like
yeah,
we can definitely continue to talk more.
yeah, for sure.
You got to get
Um
Trevor on Illinois State. There's a guy named Trevor. I'll send him the stuff to you. He's in
okay.
Illinois State student section too. So his name's Trevor.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to keep that in mind. We haven't had any major interactions with Illinois State yet, but hey, yet we could be our first
Yeah,
one. No,
exactly. Yeah.
but any last words for the viewers?
Man, I just appreciate it. Like it's really cool whenever you kind of get to be able to kind of connect with other student sections and presidents and stuff like that. So I appreciate you for letting me hop on here to talk sports, talk student section, and kind of grow that connection that we've got.
Yep, 100%. Very well said. Yeah, no, I had way too much fun with this. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to do this. But yeah, no. So thank you, Dylan, for hopping onto the podcast with me. Hopefully in the future we'll have another episode, or maybe we cross paths at Arch Madness this coming winter, whatever season it is. But
So
anyways, yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys later.